massacre of El Mozote and the surrounding areas, one of the largest and most violent massacres in Latin America's recent history, has yet to be brought to justice in the 37 long years since it occurred. Here is a short summary of the struggle for justice in this case. Despite the testimony of Rufina Amaya, the sole survivor of the massacre, who watched as her neighbors and relatives were cruelly murdered, forensic evidence, and documentation by international journalists, the Salvadoran government continued to deny the massacre took place. In 1990, the victims filed a criminal complaint against the state, but it was labeled communist propaganda and ignored.
No dejo de pedir justicia porque fue tan cruel, tan duro lo que hicieron en el Mozote y lugares aledaños.
In 1993, the approval of the amnesty law froze the case, impeding it from going to trial. Finally, in 2012, the state officially recognized the facts of the case and apologized to the victims.
Por esa masacre y por las aberrantes violaciones de los derechos humanos, en nombre del Estado salvadoreño, pido perdón a las familias de las víctimas.
Despite the state's apology, when the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights declared the massacre a crime against humanity and ordered that its investigation be reopened, the Salvadoran judicial system ignored the order, maintaining impunity for the crime. It limited its investigation to exhuming the remains and returning them to the communities. All this despite the fact that in 2014, Ernesto Rivas Gallón, the Salvadoran ambassador to the U.S. during the war, apologized for denying the existence of the massacre and admitted that he was following direct orders from the Salvadoran government. This signaled the involvement of the highest levels of government. In July 2016, the amnesty law was declared unconstitutional, allowing war crimes to finally go to court. On September 30th of that same year, just 2 months later, Judge Jorge Guzman Urquía reopened the investigation at the petition of the victims' lawyers. For the first time in Salvadoran history, 18 former high-ranking officials of the armed forces were formally accused of crimes against humanity. Among the accused were General Flores Lima, the former Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces, Juan Rafael Bustillo, ex-commander of the Salvadoran Air Force, and the first military officer to use the veracity of the Truth Commission's report in his defense because his name was not personally listed in it. And the highest-ranking officer, former Defense Minister José Guillermo Garcia, who was deported back to El Salvador from the U.S. in 2015 for the human rights abuses that were part of his military policies during the war. The roles of other military officers, such as the late Colonel Domingo Monterrosa and Major Armando Asmitia, among others, are also being investigated in honor of truth and justice for the victims. The first hearing in the case took place in March 2017, and since then, more than 39 witnesses have testified against these military officers. The Argentine forensic anthropology team that performed the first exhumation of the area in 1990 was called forth to testify. They declared that all of the evidence definitively supports the guilt of the defendants.
Toda la información que hemos recuperado hasta este momento avala y reafirma los dichos de los sobrevivientes y de los familiares y de los testigos.
La evidencia física creo que es aplastante en este caso, y aunque no hubiera habido sobrevivientes y testigos, sinceramente encontrar 136 niños en un cuarto de 4x7 con más de 267 fragmentos de proyectil y cartuchos de proyectil allí, sinceramente nunca me tocó una exhumación de tanta cantidad de niños. O sea, sí me ha tocado exhumar niños, pero no en esta cantidad.
Although the defense continues to question every detail of the victims' testimonies and delay the trial, the more serious issue is that the state continues to deny the existence of military documents registering the operation, documents that likely name the officers who helped plan and coordinate it. In December 2017, the Salvadoran government complied with a sentence from 5 years prior and released official statistics on the case. 1,725 total victims, survivors, and people affected, 988 people killed, of whom 551, or the majority, were minors. Even more shocking, 86% of the children killed were under the age of 12, and 44% were under the age of 6, too young to even handle a rifle. Furthermore, 12 unborn children were killed. The massacre of El Mozote is not only an offense against all Salvadorans, but also humanity, especially children. A sentence in the El Mozote case would reaffirm that children are not the targets of military campaigns. A sentence in this case is a step towards transitional justice and would honor the memory of innocent victims. A sentence would allow us to break the cycle of impunity in this country. Currently, time is not on the victim's side, and the possibility of seeking justice decreases each time the trial is delayed. We cannot allow this case to remain in impunity. This is an opportunity for El Salvador to set a precedent in Latin America and the world and champion human rights.